Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to play a couple games with Incineroar EX. Now, I didn't really think this deck was a real deck until it got second place in the Tournament of Doom the other day with 180 players, and it had to play against real decks the whole time, so I don't know, maybe it's pretty good. First of all, the Incineroar has 320 HP, and it has an attack that does 240 for fire and 4 colorless, and leaves your opponent's active burned, so it basically does 260. But the ability lets you attack for 1 colorless less for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So if your opponent has 4 bench Pokemon, you're attacking for a single fire. That's pretty good. And this deck is basically built like a Charizard deck, just with a couple extra cards, because you have to play double colorless in this deck in case your opponent doesn't bench Pokemon. You play the Relicanth because the Litten and the Torracat have really good attacks. Like the Litten has an attack for double fire. It does 20 damage for each damage counter on the Incineroar. And the Torracat has an attack that for 2 fire does 40. And if your Incineroar has full HP, it can't be knocked out the next turn. It's left with 10 HP remaining. So combining those two attacks, you can do unlimited damage. And I've also been choosing second with this deck since Charizard wants to go second. I figure it's like Zard where you just really want to set up. And this is the deck list that I've been playing. I took out a couple of the tech cards from the original deck list to just make it a little more consistent. And I'll put the deck that got second on screen now. And let's get into the games. Alright, so this first game we are up against Gardy, and I don't remember who won the coin flip, but I'm going second. And we have a pretty decent hand. It's kind of what we're looking for. Arven and Cleffa or Rotom to draw cards. We could also attach the double colorless if we want to. Either way, it's fine. Now, we're going to Arven for Buddy Poffin and Forest. We already have the Pokemon V in our hand, which is pretty decent. And we have a pretty good hand to probably be able to get out Pidgeot and Incineroar next turn. Just checking the prizes there. I don't know, this deck's a little weird. It's more powerful and less powerful than Charizard, but kind of a similar idea. It's weird. Yeah, I'm debating benching the Rotom right here to draw an extra card off of Cleffa. But I decided not to, because you never know when Gardy's going to play Candy and just be able to snipe it off the bench, and that would just be unfortunate. And we do draw an Arven, so we should be able to get out our 2 stage 2s. And they're going to do Gardy things in TM Evo. And this would probably be a really bad matchup if it wasn't for the middle evolution, the Torracat, because you can take a prize with the Gritty Claws attack and then tank a hit, and then knock out their Gardy EX. I'm going to Arven for Rare Candy here. Now I'm just debating if I want to Ultra Ball, because this hand's kind of weird for Ultra Ball, because I would like to keep the Relicanth, because this deck does only play 1 Super Rod, so I think I looked to make sure it's in the deck right now, and it is, so I'm probably going to Ultra Ball so I can Pidgeot for something else. And I make like a pretty bad mistake here, which I should just Pidgeot for the Torracat, evolve, and then DTE my Pidgeot and knock out this Flutter Mane. But instead I Ultra Ball for the Torracat, Ultra Ball away the DTE, and then retreat into the Incineroar and find out, oh yeah, Flutter Mane blocks Incineroar's ability. Of course it does. That's how Flutter Mane works. I don't know why I was like thinking, oh, it's not a basic, I'll be good. I don't know. It was really late when I played this game. That was a pretty stupid mistake. But, you know, we just put Incineroar up there to tank a hit. Why not? That's so terrible. I contemplated scooping the game right there out of just embarrassment and just going to bed. I'm like, God, there's a chance that I can still win this game. And they attack us with Flutter Mane and start putting damage on the Pidgeot. That makes me kind of nervous because now I'm wondering if they're playing TM Devo, because I've been messing around with TM Devo a little bit in my Gardy list, just because the Zard matchup can get out of hand really quick. And then right away I make another mistake. I just instantly play Arven I don't know why I was thinking I could Arven and Boss in the same turn. So I'm forced to Arven and use my Prime Catcher. And I don't even know what to do right now, and I just quick search. I think I get double turbo and just commit to attacking with Pidgeot. I'm going back and forth here, but I attack with the Pidgeot because if I attack with the Incineroar, then I'm in the same situation next turn. They just retreat to Flutter Mane and I can't attack again. But if I attack with Pidgeot, I can retreat and attack with Incineroar if they do not attack with Flutter Mane, or I can just knock out the Flutter Mane with my Pidgeot. Kind of sucks having to like put my only engine Pokemon in the line of fire, but I'm also like, they would have to also have Turo to get the energy off of their Flutter Mane, so I like my odds of my Pidgeot living this turn. They get Screamtail, which I don't know. I don't think it can knock out my Pidgeot. They counter catcher my Torracat, which is unfortunate. I really like having the Torracat around, and I think it's also kind of crucial to winning this matchup, especially after that mistake that I made. It's definitely going to be crucial. I'm going to have to buy a turn at some point and take 2 prizes on their EX in a turn. And they attach to the Mimikyu and just knock out my poor little Torracat. I think the list probably should play 2 Torracats in it because the card is really good. The attack is really good. It can definitely come up in multiple matchups, and with TM Devo running around, you get hit with that too, which is pretty unfortunate. I lost to a Charizard deck with this that just had double Devo, and there's not much. I would have won if they didn't have double Devo, like pretty handily, but there's nothing I could do. They just kept evolving my Pokemon, which was unfortunate. And the Torracat doesn't have the ability like the Charmeleon, which is what like helps Charizard into TM Devo. Your Charmeleon can't be devolved because of the ability. But they send up Mimikyu. This is unfortunate. Now I have to like debate if I want to try and boss around the Mimikyu the whole time or just commit my Torracat to it. And I'm leaning towards boss around it because I could get around it a couple times and then knock it out with Radiant Charizard after they take some more prizes. But they end up retreating into Screamtail anyway. They're just prize racing me at this point, which I should be at 3 prizes right now. But I gifted them a free turn because I'm an idiot. And they're just going to knock out my Rotom with their Screamtail, which this opens up like a perfect opportunity for me to use Gritty Claws because they have exactly 40 HP left. And I'm assuming that they knew about the Gritty Claws attack because they did go out of their way to bring up my Torracat and knock it out. Or it's also possible they just wanted to take a prize on it. I'm not sure. But Iono, and luckily I hit the Relicanth because I needed to hit the Relicanth or the Incineroar off the Iono to be able to use this attack. And this is kind of my route in my head to win the Gardy matchup. And as long as they attack into me for good damage, it should work pretty well. Or I can also possibly win by weaving in the Radiant Charizard and maybe trying to Turo my Pidgeot off the board late game or this damaged Incineroar. I'm not sure. It's a really close matchup at this point. It could go either way. But they're going to pop in for the Drifloon and throw the cape on it. And I'm just thinking they probably are just going to attack with Mimikyu because that would be correct, but they attack with their Drifloon. I don't know, I think they completely forgot about the Gritty Claws attack. Or maybe they were thinking they want to put 310 damage on it so they can knock it out with like Spiritomb or the Klefki that they both do 10 HP. I don't know if they play Spiritomb, but I think I saw the Klefki at some point. And they put extra damage on it, so I thought that was interesting. Because now they're doing like all the damage in the world, like 420 damage, I think. They only need 120 damage on it. But it does 310 because of the attack, and I have boss in hand. So I'm just going to Pidgeot. I don't know what to get, but I want to get something. Just, I don't know. just some card. I end up going with Ultra Ball just to get some cards out of my hand so that hopefully I draw a little better off of the Iono that they're probably going to play. I do that before playing boss, so they don't know what I got, and they concede because now there was no way that they could win because I was going to take 2 prizes that turn, and then I had an Incineroar all set up to win the game on the next turn. Alright, this next game we're up against Dialga. I won the coin flip and chose to go second. Still, I'm not 100% sure if that's correct, but just the way that the deck is built, I'm thinking it's just like a Charizard deck where you just want to go second, you just want to get set up, and you should be able to win most of the games that you get set up. But they also have a pretty good start, and I think... Now, Dialga probably wants to go second too, because he wanted TM Evolution. But despite that, they get going pretty well. The 2 Metang, the 2 Dialga. Maybe they should have put down 3 Metangs, but I guess it makes sense. I belled them. I'm bad with basic Pokemon names sometimes. Luckily, we top deck an Ultra Ball, and since they already filled their bench, I get rid of DT and Fire. We have Magma Basin, and hopefully we don't need the DTE because they should leave their bench filled up. I'm just going to Arven for Buddy PAF and Forest, and now I can just get Litten and Pidgey and hope that my Pidgey survives a turn. I would love to get a Rotom down and draw cards, but we do have a pretty good hand for next turn. We have Forest for a draw supporter, and we can Candy Pidgeot, Candy Incineroar. I'm debating attaching the fire or holding it, and I was also thinking about foresting for another Buddy PAF, but I do end up attaching the fire and holding the forest. Now, I don't know, I maybe should have kept the fire, but I'm thinking this deck also plays Iono, so if they disrupt my hand, I would rather have the fire in play. But if they don't knock out my active, I would rather have the fire in hand so that I can attack next turn, because this deck does not play too many fire energy. There's only 5 and a vessel, so even if I force for research, I still have a decent chance of whiffing it. And they Ultra Ball away a TM Evo. I was kind of hoping they'd be forced to use that this turn, but they don't. They can take a knockout for 1 metal, which I don't know how correct this is, because I can so easily knock them out because I'm playing a fire deck. But despite that, they Metal Blast my Litten for 1 prize. I think their hand is kind of dead too, so it kind of makes sense that they might want to just take a prize and hope to get something good off their prizes. But I'm gonna Pidgeot for a candy and probably Forest for a research, so I have the option to get another draw supporter, and given that option, I don't want to give them more cards because they don't seem to be drawing too well. And I draw into a PAF, and luckily I can get down 2 more Litten, and I can also Nest Ball for a Bidoof if I want. I'm not going to do that. Keep the Nest Ball around for Radiant Charizard. There are only 2 Nest Balls in this list, so you only have limited ways to get Radzard. And I also prize the Bibarel, but I don't know, it might have been good to get it down just in case I hit it off the prizes, because I'm bound to hit it eventually. Shouldn't really matter too much because this is a pretty good matchup. Except they do play the Basket Legion or whatever it's called, which is a pretty easy way for them to one-shot my Incineroar, and it's for no energy, and it puts the energy back in the deck, so that's pretty good. And they're realizing here, I think, that they promoted the wrong Pokemon, or they thought they were going to hit like a ton of energy off of their Metang abilities, but they're not knocking me out. They can't start Chronos into knocking me out, because that's really what they need to do, is like start Chronos my Lumineon or something, and then hope to build up enough energy to knock out my Incineroar, and then they probably just win. So even like in a terrible matchup, this Dialga deck could have very easily won this game if they hit 1 more energy. So they could have just Prime Catchered into Mew and then retreated, start Chronos, and then hopefully they have Boss in their hand for next turn. But I just get my Prime Catcher, because I really want to get this Dialga out of here, because that is my lose condition, is them knocking out my Incineroar. I'll attach the DT to the Litten because the Torracat I want 2 fire on that anyway, in case I want to use the attack. This isn't really the matchup where I'd want a Gritty Claws, but you never know. And I just take the Lumineon out of play. Just, I don't know, that kind of like seals up the game. There's really not much they can do at that point. And they Iono me, and I get a pretty good hand. Well, not a good hand, but I get Radiant Charizard, so that's a good card to have. And I can always just, I can Pidgeot for Bibarel and draw my hand up. The Bibarel Pidgeot engine is kind of insanely good. It's really, really good. I don't know how it wasn't discovered sooner. I guess leave it to Tord to figure something like that out. And they are, I don't know if they're just accepting their loss here, but they're going to hit me with the Mew for not enough damage. I don't know, so I've done this before too, where I just like kind of brain fart and think that, oh, how are they going to win if I just attack with this? Or he's thinking I couldn't attack 2 turns in a row. That's also very possible, but I just knock out the Mew and win the game. So this deck is pretty cool. It definitely could be a real deck. I'm not sure. I'd have to definitely play more games with it and think about more of the matchups, but at a quick glance, it seems like, I don't know, it can't be too much worse than Charizard, because Charizard does have the benefit of being able to one-shot most anything at the end of the game, but this also has that benefit of being able to buy a turn with the Relicanth, and it can also one-shot anything if it is hit for enough damage. I don't know, it's pretty cool. It's cool to see, like, towards the end of this format, new decks doing well in pretty decently big tournaments. They did lose to Gardy in the finals, but they beat a Gardy in top 4, so I don't know, I think that matchup is decent. Maybe they just bricked or something. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Check out this deck for yourselves, and have a good one.